This story begins with our protagonist, Makoto. He likes to watch a girl who takes the same train as him every day. She is Kotonoha and goes to the same school as him. She is his crush, so he takes a picture of her with his cell phone without her noticing. There is an urban legend that says that if you take a photo of your crush and make it your background, and no one finds out for 3 weeks, things will go well between you and that person. One day, while he was thinking about deleting it, a girl sits next to him and sees the photo. She is Sekai Seojianji, and they will sit together from now on. She asks him if he believes in superstition and how many days have passed. He says it's the first day since he took it, and asked her not to tell anyone. And she tells him that Kotonoha is from the same year, but is in another classroom. Later, we meet Tesu, Makoto's best friend. He is jealous that our protagonist talks to Sekai and sits next to her, since she is cute and popular. At that moment, Sekai appears and takes Makoto to the roof. She tells him that today in PE she met Kotonoha, who was sitting out because she's not very strong, so Sekai pretended to feel sick to talk to her and become friends. She got her phone number and email address. Then Makoto gets upset because he thinks she has told more people about the photo and he corners her, but she says no, and that she's going to help him instead, so Makoto apologizes. Later, he meets Setsuna, a Sekai's friend who will be more relevant in the future. The next day, Sekai tells him that she invited Kotonoha to eat lunch with them. Makoto resists at first, but she convinces him by telling him that she also knew that Kotonoha is single and she likes someone. They reach the roof and she was already there, so they all eat together. Kotonoha brought food for the 3 of them, and even though it tastes bad, Makoto eats it all, making her have a nice time. Sekai sees that the 2 of them get along, so she leaves them alone, saying that she is going to the restroom. Makoto and Kotonoha are left alone and talk to get to know each other better. At night, our protagonist thanks Sekai for what she did, and tells her that tomorrow he will tell Kotonoha about his feelings, and he doesn't mind being rejected, so Sekai with a sad voice wishes him good luck. The next day at the train station, Makoto invites Kotonoha on a date and she accepts. Later, in physical education, she tells Sekai that she will go out with Makoto since he is the boy she likes. For a long time, she felt observed on the train, and thanks to that, she noticed him. She also thanks Sekai for bringing them together. Later, at the train station, Makoto is waiting for Kotonoha to leave together on the train, and Sekai appears. He thanks her for setting him up with Kotonoha, and she says she did it for fun, but now he owes her a favor. He tells her that he will do whatever she wants. Suddenly, she kisses him, leaving him stunned, and then says goodbye to him with a smile, wishing him good luck with his date. The next day on their date, they have a great time doing a lot of things like reading, playing, eating, and even Makoto defends her from a guy. But at the end of the date, he tries to say goodbye with a kiss, but she doesn't kiss him back. The next day at school, Sekai scolds Makoto for playing on the date while Kotonoha was bored and scolds him for wanting to kiss her. He thought the date was great, and he doesn't understand women. On top of that, Makoto thought that the kiss would be like his and Sekai's. She yells at him that that was a greeting, and next time he must think in Kotonoha, not her. So she gives him 2 tickets to go to the movies. This time he has to do it right, because the 2 of them will be together, alone and in the dark. She leaves, and in another corridor, she finds Setsuna. She is angry with her friend and doesn't understand her. Those tickets were for Sekai to invite Makoto to the movies, but Sekai fakes a laugh and tells Setsuna that she didn't have free time, and that's why she gave it to him. In his room, Makoto is excited at the possibility of being able to kiss Kotonoha the next day while watching a movie. But the next day, Kotonoha chooses to watch a zombie movie and not a romantic one. Then in a scene in the movie, our protagonist tries to kiss her, but she slaps him. Later, he tells her that this was all Sekai's idea, and she realizes that the 2 are very good friends. On the way home, she runs off the train telling him she's sorry. The next day at school, Sekai is angry with Makoto because he ruined it again. She tells him that Kotonoha is delicate and he should be patient with her. He tells her that he doesn't understand what he did wrong since he followed all the instructions in the love manual he bought. She tells him not to read that and he better apologize to Kotonoha. At recess, Makoto goes to look for Kotonoha in her classroom, but he meets Katu, a girl who seems to be in love with him. They talk for a while, and he leaves without being able to see his girl. Later, he finds Kotonoha and tries to apologize, but she's in a hurry and doesn't want to listen to him. He tells her that he won't do more things that she doesn't like, and they can start from scratch, but she leaves and he tells her that he will wait for her at the train station. Later, Sekai waits outside the school for Kotonoha, who says that she will go home but by bus and not by train. Then Sekai gets annoyed with her and tells her that she must face their relationship, and Kotonoha confesses that she likes Makoto, but he is very aggressive in what he wants. Also, she feels insecure because she has very big breasts and the boys chase her just because of that. Sekai tells her that Makoto might be a pervert, but he controls a lot with her because he loves her. Meanwhile, at the train station, Makoto gives Tezu the love manual, and Katu invites him to go with her on the train, but he turns her down and continues to wait for Kotonoha. Going back to the girls, Kotonoha tells Sekai that she feels jealous of her because she knows a lot about him, but she assures her that they are just friends. It's already night. Kotonoha arrives at the train station and Makoto is still there waiting for her. He tells her that he won't do more things that she doesn't like, but she tells him that since she's his girlfriend, She wants to get to know him better. Then they hold hands and she kisses him. Meanwhile, Sakai watches them in the dark. At night, our protagonist calls his girlfriend on the phone but is attended by his younger sister Kokoro. The next day at lunchtime, the three of them are eating on the roof and Kotonoha tells Makoto that her little sister wants to meet him, so she invites him to her house. He eagerly agrees but is interrupted by Sakai, who tells him that he shouldn't be so dense, though Kotonoha doesn't care. Makoto tells her to stay out, but Sakai begins to hit him in a comical way while they are seen by Kotonoha. Later in her classroom, the girls from the student council tell Kotonoha that they had to do her part of the work. Then Katu, who seemed jealous, tells her to prioritize her work and not be around with her boyfriend. On the train back home, the couple is together and they are spied on by a girl. He realizes that Kotonoha is sad and asks her what's wrong, but she asks him if they're really dating. He says yes, and they hug. She blushes and gets off the train at her stop, and we see the girl spying on them with a cell phone. Later, Sakai receives a message from this girl and she tells her that she saw her boyfriend with someone else, but Sakai tells her that Makoto is not her boyfriend. Then Sakai calls out Makoto for showing affection in public. He tells her it was just a hug. Even so, she lectures him on how he should behave. Makoto thinks that he should apologize again, but the next day he doesn't see her on the train. She went to school by bus, so he thinks their hug did bother her. At school, Sakai insists that he should apologize to Kotonoha and he wants her to come with him, but Setsuna takes her out to eat with other friends. Meanwhile, in her classroom, Kotonoha overhears the student council girls talking about the boy Katu wants, so she runs out of there. On the rooftop, Makoto meets Kotonoha. He asks her if she's still mad about the hug, but she tells him not to worry, but it's better to cancel their date at her house today. He gets sad, so she tells him that he can go on Sunday. Makoto is excited at the idea. Meanwhile, Sakai is having lunch with her friends and they tease her saying that Makoto is interested in her. Also, the school festival is coming up and there is a saying that if a boy and a girl are together at the festival, they will be a couple. Then they start talking about what their class will do at the festival. Later, Setsuna goes to see Sakai at her job, then she asks her if it's true that she's not Makoto's girlfriend and Sakai assures her that they're just friends. On the way to Kotonoha's house, he can't stop thinking about what he talked about with Sakai the day before. Later, he arrives at his girlfriend's house. They spend a nice afternoon playing with Kokoro, but the little girl asks him why he calls her sister by her last name and not her name. Then he starts calling his girlfriend by her name, making her happy, and she does the same. He feels that they are a real couple now. When they are about to say goodbye, she asks him to close his eyes. He thinks that she will kiss him on the lips, but she only kisses him on the cheek. Later, he talks to Sakai as usual and tells her how his relationship with his girlfriend is progressing. She thinks things are going well, but he tells her that he's a kind of getting tired of spending time with Kotonoha. At home, Kokoro asks her sister if she already kissed Makoto, and she says yes. At school, Makoto tells Sakai that he always thought being with someone would be fun, but he's not liking being with Kotonoha. At break, Sakai feels weird hearing her friends talk about their boyfriends and how far they've gone with them and remembers her kiss with Makoto. Meanwhile, on the roof, Makoto and Kotonoha are kissing, but he is too excited and caresses her breasts. She walks away and tells him that she can't do it. He apologizes but feels annoyed. Later that night, Kotonoha calls Sakai to tell her what happened. Sakai tells her that she will scold Makoto tomorrow, but Kotonoha stops her and says that she does want him to touch her, but she doesn't feel ready yet. Then Sakai asks her if she would do more things with Makoto in the future, but Kotonoha says that she imagined they would do it in another place and another way and describes a whole romantic situation. Sakai thinks that she is very innocent. Meanwhile, at his house, Makoto spent the whole afternoon himself thinking about Kotonoha's b****s. The next day on the train, Kotonoha has 2 tickets to go to the aquarium and wants to invite her boyfriend, but he treats her indifferent and barely speaks to her, so she doesn't say anything to him. At school, Sakai's friend advises her to stay away from Makoto, since this girl he's dating looks very sad. Maybe he is a bad guy. Then Sakai asks Makoto what happened. He reacts badly, so she takes him to another place to talk alone. He explains that with Kotonoha, they already hold hands and kissed, but he wants to go further and she doesn't. Sakai tells him that any girl would react badly if they do it on a roof and says that he should find a more appropriate place to do it. So she offers to teach him and give him special training to be less rough with his girlfriend. She will teach him what a girl wants. After school ends, Sakai takes Makoto to a park and finds a place to be alone. She tells him about what she talked about with Kotonoha and tells him that his girlfriend would like to do it in a quiet and romantic place. However, when they try to kiss, many children appear. And when they go to karaoke, they find a surveillance camera, so the last place they have left for privacy is the school roof. Meanwhile, Kotonoha is still at school doing school board assignments and sends a message to Makoto, saying that she wanted to see him tomorrow and give him something. On the rooftop, Makoto's training begins and Sakai warns him that it's all staged. First, they hold hands and he strokes her hair, and then she tells him that he should say nice things in her ear. He says that he loves her since he can't say Kotonoha's name because she isn't there. Then he wants to touch her and she allows him even though she's embarrassed because it's her first time. Makoto starts caressing her and says he wants her and lays her down on the bench. At first, she resists, but then she lets him do what he wants. All this happens while Kotonoha was waiting for him outside the school. On the way home, Makoto asks her to continue training him, but she tells him that his training is over. The two say goodbye and look sad. Later, Makoto bumps into Kotonoha and she invites him to a water park on Sunday. Sekai watches them from a distance. At the water park, Makoto can't stop thinking about Sekai and Kotonoha, while Tezu can't stop admiring all the girls in bikinis. In the locker room, all the other girls keep comparing themselves to Kotonoha's big tits, even Sekai. It turns out that everyone went to the water park because Kotonoha invited Makoto. Hikari, Sekai's friend, gave Makoto tickets to invite Tezuka and so on. They all got invited to the same place. At the pool, Makoto teaches Kotonoha how to swim, and while she was walking, she slips and falls on her boyfriend and hugs him. This scene makes Sekai jealous. Hikari and Tezuka have a good time in the different water games. Later, while Kotonoha goes to the bathroom, Sekai and Makoto are left alone. She says that she saw him humming Kotonoha, and it is thanks to her training. So he grabs her ass and says that they should do it again, but she tells him that if they had it was because he needed training, plus he has a girlfriend. So they change the subject and start joking around like the friends they are. Makoto tells her that he feels more comfortable talking to her, and she tells him to stop. Then they all go to eat, and Kotonoha acts like a girlfriend to Makoto, and he doesn't like it. She doesn't notice and announces to the others that the two of them are dating. Tezuka doesn't believe it because he thought his friend was Sekai's boyfriend, and Sekai gets sad. Later, everyone watches the couple in the pool, and Tezuka asks Sekai if she is not in love with Makoto. Why was she with him all the time? She tells him that she was the one who brought them together, and that she gives advice to Makoto. Then Tezuka asks her to find him a girlfriend, and she agrees. At the end of the day, Kotonoha changed her clothes and quickly dried her hair to leave alone with Makoto, but he prefers to stay waiting for the others. When Sekai arrives and sees that the couple is still there, she takes him aside and scolds him for not leaving with Kotonoha, since everyone had agreed to leave him alone, but Makoto can't stop thinking about Sekai's training as he watches her. So Sekai gets serious and tells him to forget about it. They're just friends, nothing more. They all say goodbye and Kotonoha stays with Makoto, but he tells her that he wants to leave, treating her coldly, so Kotonoha runs away. Makoto thinks about Sekai and her words and decides to call her, but she doesn't answer him. She sends him a message and tells him that the best thing would be for him to call his girlfriend to end the day well. He tells her that he can't take it anymore, he wants to see her, and he misses her. Then she runs to catch up with him and they see each other. He hugs her without hesitation. She asks him why he came to see her if he has a girlfriend, and he confesses his feelings while stroking her ass. She asks him why he didn't notice her first. She helped him with Kotonoha because he noticed her. Makoto apologizes to her and says that he wants her and kisses her. They go to Sekai's house, and as they kiss naked on her bed, he says that they have to practice more and they do it again. Meanwhile, Kotonoha is at her house with Kokoro, who wants to see her sister's boyfriend again. In the following days, Sekai and Makoto continue to have sex under the excuse that they are practicing while he evades Kotonoha. One day, Makoto stayed to sleep at Sekai's house, so they act like a couple in love, but to save face, they go to school by different routes. So Kotonoha met Makoto on the train, and during the way she talks to him about romantic things, but he ignores her. At school, Makoto greets Sekai and she pretends that she just saw him and asks him why he is so tired, and he says that he hasn't made breakfast for two in a long time, implying that they spent the night together. Satsune hears this and asks Sekai if he broke up with his girlfriend, and she says yes. So Sekai tells Makoto that they should tell Kotonoha the truth because otherwise she will feel more guilty, and he doesn't want to because his girlfriend will get mad at him. On the roof, the three of them get together to eat. Kotonoha brought hot lemonade for them, but since Makoto acts weird, she thinks it tastes bad, but Sekai quickly assures her that it tastes good. So the two are left unable to tell Kotonoha the truth. Later, Kotonoha asks Makoto out, but he turns her down, saying he already had plans. More later, Makoto asks Sekai if he can come to her house, and she tells him that he shouldn't lie to Kotonoha like that. He says that he will tell her the truth eventually, so the two of them go out on a date and have a good time. At the end of the day, Kotonoha was returning home by train and she happens to see them kissing and holding hands, but she thinks it's her imagination. The next day, Makoto treats Kotonoha coldly in front of Katu. She greets him and ignores Kotonoha. Every day they continued to do the same to Kotonoha. They lied to her and kept dating behind this girl's back. One day, Sekai tells Makoto that they are nothing, so he should accompany his girlfriend on her way home. As they walk, a vendor offers them cell phones for couples. Kotonoha is happy and says that she thought of giving it to him, but Makoto says that he doesn't want it. Kotonoha keeps walking and falls, throwing balls of wool and knitting needles to the ground, and says that she was learning to knit. She wants to knit something before Christmas. Later, Sekai is sad at home because today she couldn't see Makoto. Meanwhile, at home, he is the same as her and refuses to answer Kotonoha's calls. The next day, Makoto and Sekai's classroom discuss what to do for the school festival. Meanwhile, in Kotonoha's classroom, no one pays attention to her, and Katu and her friends tell her to stop staring at them. They are talking about Katu going to confess her feelings to a boy. Katu blurts out that she likes Makoto, and Kotonoha tells her that she's his girlfriend and says that Katu doesn't gain anything by attacking her like that because they're already a couple. Everyone spreads the word that Kotonoha and Makoto are dating. And since she was busy today, Makoto goes with Shikai to the roof. Setsuna sees them and is happy. Kotonoha leaves the class as fast as she can while Katu and her friends stare at her maliciously. Makoto and Shikai are on the roof touching each other, and Kotonoha is about to enter and hears them saying that they love each other. Makoto tells Shikai that he likes being with her more than with Kotonoha. She is happy about that, but asks if it's okay for him to avoid his girlfriend like that, and he says yes. All this is heard by Kotonoha, who runs away. At her house, she wonders if Makoto doesn't like her anymore and tells herself that she should try harder. Kokoro enters her room and tells her that she wants to go see her at the school festival, and she agrees. The next day, there's a crisis in classroom 3. Hikari tells them that classrooms 1 and 2 will have little sister cafes and zombie cafes, and classroom 4 will combine both ideas. They decide not to be left behind and will also do a maid's theme, since Shikai works as a maid. Tezuka suddenly enters to tell that one of those who would help with the preparations has been injured, so they ask Makoto to replace him to help Kotonoha, but Setsuna says that he shouldn't do it since they have already finished their relationship, which surprises everyone. And not only that, Setsuna tells everyone that now he is dating Shikai. In her classroom, Kotonoha takes care of things by herself, and the others tell her that she should get the materials. She meekly accepts. Later, Katu finds out that Makoto no longer goes out with Kotonoha and thinks that she is just a nuisance that follows him everywhere. Makoto accompanies Setsuna to the school festival committee, and at the end Kotonoha is glad to see him and wants to talk to him. But Setsuna takes him away saying that he has plans with Shikai. Then Kotonoha sends a text message to him to eat together tomorrow, but Setsuna gets angry and takes Makoto's cell phone and blocks Kotonoha. Setsuna goes and tells Shikai what she did. Shikai doesn't agree, but Setsuna tells her that she did it for her. Meanwhile, at Kotonoha's house, she undoes everything she knitted. The next day, she tries to send a message to her boyfriend, but she can't. So she calls him, but the operator tells her that she can't contact that number because he has blocked her. Later in PE, Shikai ignores Kotonoha. Now she doesn't care about anything other than being Makoto's girlfriend. Afterwards, Kotonoha is alone on the roof looking sadly at Makoto's photo on her cell phone while it's raining. The preparations for the festival continue in Kotonoha's classroom. Katu and her friends treat her badly and tell her to get sheets. They are planning something. While she was walking, Makoto runs into Kotonoha and is gawking at her since she got wet in the rain and her shirt is translucent. He wants to talk to her, but Setsuna won't let him and takes him away. Even so, Makoto goes after her and sees that she is with Tezuka. He decides to spy on them, and Hikari also appears to see them. So the two listen as Tezuka asks Kotonoha to dance with him at the festival. It is said that the couples who dance at the end of the festival, you will be together all year. Tezuka says that he heard that she and Makoto broke up, but Kotonoha tells him that it's not true, and when she comes out, Hikari's friend tells her that that she not only chases Makoto but Tezuka as well. Kotonoha leaves crying and Makoto falls silent. On the way home, Makoto unlocks Kotonoha's number, and when he gets home, Shikai is there and is jealous and tells him that she knows he went after Kotonoha. Suddenly, the doorbell rings and it's Kotonoha. She wants to talk to him because they don't see each other much at school and she thinks her cell phone has a problem. But he tells her not to worry because he already fixed the problem with his cell phone. This is heard by Shikai, who is outraged. She wants to go in, but he says that now is not a good time because he is not feeling well. But Kotonoha sees Shikai's shoes at the entrance. So before leaving, Kotonoha makes him promise that he will dance with her on the final day of the festival. He says that he will think about it, and she leaves. After that, Shikai leaves angrily and says that she doesn't care if she runs into Kotonoha, and that happens. The two of them meet and Kotonoha slaps her. Shikai tells Setsuna the whole truth, and she says that she will go talk to Makoto because there isn't much time left. At school, Tezuka asks his friend about Kotonoha since he found out that they didn't break up, but Makoto vaguely answers that boys and girls never agree on a relationship. Meanwhile, Shikai didn't go to class and stayed at home. Remember Kotonoha's slap? She apologized, but Kotonoha told her to stay away from her boyfriend. The next day, Kotonoha wanted to go home with Makoto, but Setsuna interrupted them and told Makoto that he has to stay to do things with the school festival board. When they were alone working, Setsuna asked him who he likes now. He tells her that he started dating Kotonoha because he liked her first, but then he started to like Shikai, and now he feels more comfortable with her because he can be himself. Satisfied with the answer, she tells him that he can go see Shikai. Makoto goes to Shikai's house, and she tells him what happened last night with Kotonoha and says that what they are doing is wrong, but he says that he wants her more and he jumps on top of her to kiss her, but they stop because they threw the tea. Later that night, she tells her friend Setsuna that Makoto will break up with Kotonoha. The next day, Shikai returns to school as if nothing had happened. Everything is almost ready for the festival. On the train on the way home, Kotonoha is holding Makoto's arm, so he takes the opportunity to look at her from above. She mimics and tells him that soon she will let him touch her bare breasts, but they have to wait until Kokoro isn't home. So she asks him to dance the folk dance with her at the end of the festival. He can't stop looking at her breasts, so he accepts. Elsewhere, we see Setsume, who has everything packed to go to France, and says that as long as Sakai is with Makoto, everything will be fine. The day of the festival has arrived. Kotonoha is at the reception of her classroom, so Katu's friends come and tell her to stay there. Suddenly, a couple comes and they open the doors, and then we can see that this room is like a hotel that they prepared. Then, as Classroom 3 didn't get any customers, they decide to make a plan, which in the end goes wrong because they fall on a banana peel and end up with all the costumes damaged. So the whole class will have to repair them for tomorrow. Sakai leaves for work and Tezu continues to ignore Hikari as he drools at Sakai. Makoto stays to help Setsuna very late, and she tells him that she is going to France and Sakai doesn't know it yet. She makes him promise to be by Sakai's side because whenever she's sad, Setsuna has been there for her. She also reminds him that one day he comforted her when she was crying because some guys had called her short, and he talked to them so they wouldn't bother her anymore. She thanks him for making her happy that time. After so much work, Makoto falls asleep and Setsuna takes advantage of this and kisses him, saying that this will be her special memory. But Kotonoha was passing by and sees them. Kotonoha and Setsuna go to talk somewhere else, and she asks Setsuna if she separates them because she likes Makoto. Setsuna says that she did that for Sakai, and the kiss was just a memory for her because she's leaving for France soon. So Kotonoha leaves. The second day of the festival begins. The principal told the representatives of each class to have peaceful competitions, so everything is calmer today. Makoto and Sakai act like a couple while making cakes, and Tezuka does feel bad about being single since he sees couples everywhere while continuing to ignore Hikari. Meanwhile, Kotonoha is being picked on by the mean girls in her classroom who do nothing and leave all the work to her. They told her to let people into the break room where couples enter after confessing, and we see a friend of Sakai confessing to someone. Tezuka goes looking for Kotonoha to ask her to dance with him at the end of the festival, but she reminds him that she is Makoto's girlfriend. But Tezuka tells her that it seems to him that his friend is Sakai's boyfriend. Kotonoha gets mad at him and yells that she is Makoto's girlfriend. He apologizes and leaves. She starts texting her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Makoto and Sakai continue making desserts, but he can't stop touching her, and she tiredly kicks him between the legs, so he lets her work in peace. Makoto goes out and is approached by Katu, who asks him to take a walk with her around the festival. He looks at her from top to bottom and accepts. After having a good time together, Katu asks him to dance with her at the folk dance, but before he can answer, Sakai gets jealous and takes him away. At that moment, Kokoro and her friend appear, saying that her sister is excited to dance the folk dance with him, but he remains silent and the two girls leave. While Kotonoha does student council things, she runs into the mean girls and they make fun of her, saying that her boyfriend already has another. She says that's not true, so they challenge her to prove that they are still together. So they tell her to take Makoto to the break room. Kotonoha says that she will. At the same time, Sakai reminds Makoto that they should dance the folk dance together. He doesn't understand why it's so important, and she gets angry and tells him that it's to announce that they are now a couple. He isn't sure but accepts. In the courtyard, there's Katu and Tezuka, both single. He tells her about his situation with Kotonoha, so she tells him that he should be more direct and that girls like boys to go for everything, and leaves saying that she will do the same. Meanwhile, Sakai is attached to Makoto until she is called to help with the fair. Then Makoto sees his cell phone and sees that he has 20 messages from Kotonoha and runs out to find her. On the way, Katu stops him and takes him to the break room with her. There she confesses her feelings for him and throws him on the bed and climbs on top of him. Meanwhile, outside, the mean girls make fun of Kotonoha because her boyfriend didn't come, but they stop when they see that she's about to cry. All this happens while Makoto is having sex with Katu. As Makoto and Katu get dressed, he hints that he can't dance with her today. When everything is over, Kotonoha goes to look for her boyfriend in his classroom, but everything is turned off and only Tezuka remains. He tells her that Makoto is dancing with Sakai because they are a couple. She doesn't accept it and he makes her see reason. She is shocked and he takes the opportunity to hug her and tell her that he loves her. While Makoto and Sakai dance at the campfire, Kotonoha is with Tezuka. When they finish, she goes outside and watches as they kiss while she cries. The next day, Makoto and Kotonoha meet on the train and he apologizes to her. She's happy and doesn't tell him what she saw. At school, Tezuka is happy and kind to everyone, plus Makoto and Sakai are already an official couple in everyone's eyes. Tezuka goes looking for Kotonoha and invites her to a Christmas event, but she rejects him and tells him that she is Makoto's girlfriend, that he should forget about what they did yesterday, and that he means nothing to her. Tezuka runs to ask Makoto about Kotonoha, and he tells him that they are not together anymore. He thinks that she lied to him because she doesn't like him. Meanwhile, Kotonoha is teased by the usual girls. They make fun of her because Makoto didn't go with her to the break room, but Kotonoha doesn't care, and Katu also makes fun of her because she slept with him and Kotonoha doesn't know it. Kotonoha ignores them and they trip her up. Makoto goes to throw out the garbage and meets Setsuna. She asks him many times if he is still dating Kotonoha, and he assures her that he is not. She tells him that tomorrow she will go to France and wants to make sure that he will always be with Sakai. He doesn't promise, but says he'll take care of her. At that moment, Kotonoha appears and Makoto helps her carry the garbage. She asks him out, but Setsuna says that Makoto can't go today, tomorrow, or next week. Then finally, Makoto tells Kotonoha that they shouldn't see each other anymore because someone might misunderstand them. Then Kotonoha tells Makoto that when he was asleep, Setsuna took the opportunity to kiss him, but she's interrupted. Setsuna kisses Makoto again while Kotonoha watches them. Setsuna tells her that they are also in a relationship and that she shouldn't come between them. Makoto tells Kotonoha that he doesn't like her anymore, and she breaks down and he leaves. Later, Sakai can't find her boyfriend and Setsuna says that she will go find him. Nanami invites Sakai to a party. It turns out that Makoto was hiding with Katu having sex in the PE storage room. When they are getting dressed, he tells her that no matter what he does, everything is pain. But with her, it is different. She is moved and they do it again. All this is heard by Setsuna. Late that night, Kokoro sees that her sister is awake but doesn't answer her. She is looking carefully at some knives. Setsuna can't sleep either and goes to Makoto's house to scold him for what he did in the PE storage room. She tells him that he should break up with that girl because she left Sakai in his hands. She says that she hasn't told Sakai anything yet, so he takes advantage of her feelings for him and kisses her and climbs on top of her. She starts to and tells him that he can do whatever he wants with her, but he must break up with that other girl. Apparently, Makoto accepts. The next day, Sakai and Nanami goes to the party. There, Sakai meets Kano. The party is about to start, but it was a private screening. The mean girls have put a camera in the break room. The first thing they see is Nanami giving a guy a blow. Later, they see Kano doing it with Makoto. Sakai runs off and calls Makoto on his cell phone, but he doesn't answer. On the way, she runs into Kotonoha, who tells her that Makoto and Setsuna are somewhere together. When she raises her head, Sakai sees that her eyes look dead and unfocused. The next day, Sakai doesn't go to class, and we see that Setsuna said goodbye to her by text message. Days go by, and Sakai still doesn't go to school, so Hikaru goes to Makoto's house to tell him to go comfort his girlfriend, but instead, she ends up having sex with him. When she gets dressed, she tells him that she feels bad for doing this to Sakai, and that he's a jerk. He tells her that she's the same, so they kiss. It turns out that since Sakai doesn't go to school, Makoto goes from girl to girl. Meanwhile, Kotonoha continues to feel bad and has a blank look. Sakai is still depressed in her room and remembers that she had a fight with Makoto. She reproached him for cheating on her and asked him if she wasn't enough for him. He tries to deny the truth, but she tells him to please don't cheat on her. She now has no one to lean on since Setsuna left. She's finally getting her karma. Later, Hikaru goes to Sakai's house to try to convince her to come out so the others don't worry. Sakai tells her that she doesn't feel like talking to anyone, but Hikaru insists and says that if she doesn't come out, Makoto will cheat on her with other girls. Sakai closes the door in her face. Later, we see Kotonoha on a train. She's losing her sanity texting Makoto. At school, Katu is like crazy looking for Makoto, but her friends are already fed up with her and her anger, so they leave her alone, but they wonder how good Makoto was in the bed. Makoto was having with Hikari in an empty room. When they're already dressed, she insists that he should go see Sakai because she is having a bad time. But Makoto doesn't seem to care, and when he goes out, he meets Ketu's friends. Meanwhile, Kotonoha has completely lost her sanity. She dials Makoto's number, and when the operator answers, she talks to it as if she was still his girlfriend. At the same time, Sakai is at home crying while reading Makoto's old messages. The next day, all the girls gather at Makoto's house to have sex with him. At night, Kotonoha continues to swim in her madness, while Sakai at home is nauseated. The next day, Sakai goes to school and asks Makoto to talk alone. He doesn't want to, so she tells him in front of everyone that she's pregnant, then vomits in his seat. Later, Sakai is in the infirmary and is glad that her baby is Makoto's. The girls talk among themselves and say that they will stop dating him. Hikari also turns her back on him since she does not want to have a bad reputation. At school, everyone talks behind his back and no one wants to get close to him. At night, Katu goes to Makoto's house and asks him about Sakai. He gets angry and tells her that this baby is not his. Katu is surprised and tells him that he has changed for the worse. He was not like that before. The next day, Sakai doesn't go to school again. At night, Kotonoha continues swimming in her madness and talks to herself on her cell phone saying that she will wait for Makoto at the Christmas tree. Meanwhile, Makoto tries to call all the girls on his list, but none of them answer and gets angry. He walks aimlessly and realizes that he hasn't called Kotonoha yet, and suddenly she appears in front of him. She is covered in snow because she was waiting for a long time, and she starts talking to him nonsense, telling him that Sakai supports them and that she is now his girlfriend. He realizes that she has lost her sanity and shakes her back to her senses. She tells him that she loves him and he asks her how she can love a guy like him while he hugs her crying. He apologizes and tells her that he loves her, returning the shine to Kotonoha's eyes. Kotonoha and Makoto go to a restaurant, but Shikai interrupts them by calling him and telling him to come back to home and have dinner with her. Shikai insists that she is now carrying his baby, but this angers Makoto and says that Kotonoha wouldn't say something like that. He hangs up on her. She texts him apologizing and saying that she is going to her house. Kotonoha was at Makoto's side when this happened. The two of them are on their way home on a train, and coincidentally, Shikai gets off a train and sees them together. Shikai is outraged and takes the train again to go to Makoto's house. When they arrive at Makoto's house, they find all the dinner scattered on the floor. Still, while Makoto cleans and prepares tea, Kotonoha waits in the living room. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. He's going to open it, but the one who opened the door is Kotonoha, who receives a slap from Shikai. Shikai accuses Kotonoha of persecuting Makoto and thinks that she invited herself, but this is not the case. Finally, Kotonoha speaks, telling Shikai that she was the one who meddled in their relationship. She seduced him to break up, and on top of that, she asked her friend for help, but Shikai didn't know anything. So Kotonoha tells her that her best friend also loved Makoto and even kissed him. Setsuna didn't do it for her friend, she did it for herself. So she says that now she understood everything, that Makoto always wanted her, Shikai herself told her. Then she says that she is a kind person and that she forgives Makoto. So they kiss very passionately, so Shikai ends up screaming and running out of there. Along the way, memories of her friend Setsuna haunt her. We see that she had taken a picture of Makoto for Setsuna because she thought her friend liked him. However, this is something that Shikai wanted to do with Setsuna and then did with Kotonoha. She pretended to be a nice person to get closer to Makoto, and by helping him with another girl, she would look good to him. The next day, Shikai receives a message from Makoto. He tells her that Kotonoha knows a hospital where she can get rid of the problem. The faster, the better for her body. Arriving at school, Makoto receives a message from Shikai. She wants to talk to him alone. On the roof, Makoto tells Kotonoha that Shikai is going to see him today in his house. He thinks that she already went to the clinic and that the problem is solved, and all thanks to her. Then he tells her that from now on he wants her to be the only woman in her life, so we finally see that Kotonoha smiles after a long time. Later, Shikai goes to Makoto's house and he asks her how it went. She doesn't answer him and they stay in an awkward silence. She goes to the kitchen to prepare tea and sees that Makoto threw all the food she had cooked. At the same time, Makoto goes to check his cell phone and Shikai grabs a knife. In another place where Kotonoha and her little sister, the girl is happy buying things with her sister to cook for him. And she's very happy because tomorrow she will go on a yacht with her boyfriend. Back to Makoto, he sees that he has many messages and they are all from Shikai. She tells him sorry and then goodbye. Suddenly, she appears from behind him and him repeatedly, remembering all the moments they lived together. She continues to stab him until he stops moving and then runs away. Later, Kotonoha arrives at Makoto's house and stumbles upon this bloody scene. After that, Shikai receives a message from Makoto's cell phone to go to the school roof, and she goes. On the roof, there is a bag on the bench, and there is also Kotonoha with Makoto's cell phone. Kotonoha asks Shikai if she already went to the clinic to get rid of the baby. Shikai replies that she won't go to a hospital recommended by Kotonoha. Then Kotonoha says that she thinks it was all made up to stay with Makoto, and says that if she had gone to that clinic, she could have proven that the pregnancy was real, but she didn't. Even so, that was not going to help her because she's Makoto's girlfriend. Shikai breaks down and starts crying, saying that she also wanted to be Makoto's girlfriend. Then Kotonoha tells her that she should ask Makoto since he's there too and points to the bag. Shikai opens the bag and sees the head of her beloved Makoto. Kotonoha tells her that she is going to find out if she was telling the truth. She takes the knife that Shikai had and stabs her in the belly. After opening her belly, she says that she was right. Shikai was lying, there was no baby. The next day, on a yacht sailing into the sunset, Kotonoha is on the floor of a yacht hugging Makoto's head and tells him that they are finally alone.